I like this idea that courage is a muscle.
Being a dreamer, you have to be a bit delusional. See something or believe in something that other people don't see yet.
If you wait for everything around you to be perfect before you're actually moving forward, you're gonna end up waiting forever.
Gosh, I don't want to talk about like dating, but
You're opening that door now.
yeah, because
Spill the beans.
it's
Do it, Staffan.
I'm just getting more sweaty now.
There is no better teacher than setbacks. Discomfort is the price to pay for courage. Hello, friends. Welcome back.
I'm feeling a bit courageous today.
This is our second episode, and it's going to be coming out simultaneously as a second personal story of mine, 2 out of 2. It's the last one. Will be coming out on the main channel, and we thought that today a good theme could be for us to talk about courage.
Yes. It is courageous of us to go back to that. Like, I'm feeling courageous sitting here. It feels like new land, a new place, a new space. But before I say that, if you're watching this from your phone or from a computer or somewhere, I want to do a little clap for you, man. You've been sharing beautiful stories on our YouTube channel, so I'm clapping up for you. I hope people are clapping with me right now. If you're holding your phone, maybe you can't clap at the same time.
It's a bit of uncharted territory.
Yeah,
like I haven't really done anything like that before, and it does feel like needed. And it does feel good to be able to share a bit more from my personal perspective, because I feel that with Yes Theory, I'm telling other people's story. And I like that. I like telling stories about other people, about other cultures, about being able to be more like serve as a light to shine on others. And it's actually quite uncomfortable for me, despite the name of our channel, to be speaking more from a personal perspective. It's harder.
I can confirm that. I've been nudging you sometimes as well, of like, share this or share that, and you're always having a very strong, compass, almost I see it, of like, let's build the bridges between the people or between the cultures, which is, very beautiful, and our strong belief and our strong mission we are on. But I find it beautiful as well that you're building the bridge between you to the people around you and people listening, and that we're also doing this podcast, right? Between us and between you and me and to everyone listening. And so like it's building bridges, and to go over that bridge is a little bit scary, right? You said it's like new territory for you. Like how does that feel? Because I used to make everyone understand who's tuning in now. So you did one very personal story, still feels, for me, hard to say it every time, but you did a very personal story about your beautiful mother Helena that passed away not that long ago, and you for the first time spoke about that publicly. Like it was not many people who knew about it before. And then you did a personal story now on our YouTube channel, Yes Theory, where you spoke about overcoming immense pain, navigating the crossroads of like going deeper into the dark when you're feeling immense pain, or choosing the light more. That's how I see it. And these two stories. So that's just as a background for people who are not aware of that or not seen these videos. But how has it felt to?
It's felt like a way to help myself process a lot of the emotions that I've been feeling, and the confusion over what the last few years of my life have really been. And I know, because I speak to people that watch Yes Theory every day. I speak to friends. I think a lot of people, oddly enough, that are going through a bit of a weird time in our lives. I think we're all feeling it, and I think it's a symptom of the state of the world, and a symptom of, being hyper-connected, and I think a lot of different things. And so I think what I hope, and I know that you hope, for this podcast to become is a place where we can sort of create our own little micro community here, to be able to talk about these things, and to be able to create space to just not feel as alone in these emotions. Because I think it's pretty hilarious that I think we walk around the streets pretending, right? And I think it's Kafka that said, I felt like a fool when I realized that life was a costume party, but I came wearing my real self.
Yes.
Or something like that. And the whole idea is that so many people are wearing a mask and pretending. And I've definitely done that at times in my life. And I definitely feel that I've had to do that in the last few years because it just felt inappropriate to talk about what was actually happening. And so it feels good now to feel able to be more honest. And I think I also feel through the hard way that I've had to learn a lot of things. And I know that you have a lot as well in your life that you've learned through hardship. And I think now being able to just be together and talk about it, not just you and I, but every person watching, and I hope a conversation that will happen in the comments, we can each talk about how do we overcome hardship? How do we push through when life feels like it's just not going our way at all? And I'm excited to talk about this with you today because it's a topic that we talk about often off camera. You know, most of our dinners in between filming and when we're hanging out look more like this than they look like when we're in the episodes, right? Of course, we have experiences and adventures together off camera, but most of it is actually sitting, trying to make sense of life, trying to talk through our experiences and harvest some lessons from it. So it's exciting to hopefully be here and for people to enjoy it, and for people to resonate with the intentions behind this. And, you know, ultimately, we're trying to figure out what this is, right?
Yeah, and we want to build it truly like with everyone. So we are throwing ourselves into this, into the unknown, and we're wishing to people to walk with us. And we also want to like super clarify, and I say we because I know I speak for both of us, but we're not like here to give any kind of answer, but hopefully a lot of questions. And with questions, a lot of answer comes, right?
Yeah.
Something that you say might resonate and connect with someone else, something that I say, or something that you guys out there like are writing in a comment section or are talking with your neighbor or your family member or someone else that will like give a ripple effect further away. And hopefully that will like, spread very far away.
Well, I have a first question for you, speaking of questions. What do you think the most common misconception about courage is? Like, what do you think most people misunderstand about it?
What comes to me, I love this format, by the way. We don't know what's going to pop. Like, we throw questions to each other and we dig into it. The first that comes to me is like, I love words, I love quotes. So you're probably going to hear quotes and sayings and things from me. And yeah, take it or like it, but I've been a quote nerd. Quotes, by the way, I'm not going to say saved my life, but that's almost how I felt, by the way, when I was like 18 years old. I had these documents of quotes and I was just like connecting so deeply to them. And also words and the meaning behind words. And I know the word courage comes from the Latin words cor, which is heart. So to answer your question, I think a big misunderstanding is that people believe courage is this, you know, warrior or someone that is out, you know, just fighting. Like that is a very courageous person. It's portrayed in movies and so. But I think courage and what it originally meant was to speak and live fully from your heart. That's an original meaning from it, if you look into courage, Latin. And that's what I think the misconception happens, that we forget that it's down here. And that's what I believe you are doing now, truly, with opening up about, you know, the very big hardships you've been going through.
Do you find that some quotes like that, I like them. Do you find that sometimes they're hard to actually apply? I'm just curious, like how you do it, because you seem to be able to apply some, like a lot of what you speak about, and I think that's a challenge. That's difficult.
I obviously fail, as all of us, in some way and extent, and many times over. But the times I succeed, I would say, is that I truly try to feel it, and then to try to go through it instead of letting it like grow on me or overtake me. Like there's so many times where, you know, I'm overloaded by emotions before, you know, gosh, I don't want to talk about like dating, but there is this, I really don't want to come into this topic, but it's happened now because that's what feels most true.
Go for it.
I never ever in my whole life ever spoken about dating in any kind of setting, but
you're opening that door now.
Yeah, because
Spill the beans.
It's
Do it, Staffan.
very present in my life right now. So there is this beautiful woman that I'm a little bit interested in. Maybe a little bit a lot.
And how does this relate to what we're talking about?
I'm just getting more sweaty now. But so what I'm trying to say is there was this moment where I wished to tell her something, but it felt immensely scary. And either I could decide to like shy away from that and not speak about these kind of things because it's scary, or we chose to actually bring it up and have the scarcity of something disappearing, you know, in front of your eyes. And I spoke to you before, you know, and asked for some, you know, advice. I can't still believe we're talking about this, but the point for me is there that it was like a crossroad there as well, like, and I believe that is courage, right?
Yeah.
And I believe there are so many more people that are more courageous, because when you really put your heart out there, I think it's what courage is for me in the bottom end.
Yeah.
It can express itself in different ways, but to be able to like show your heart and be ready for it to be taken away, and still trusting that you will like bounce back or come back despite, you know, being hurt from a friend, from a romantic partner, or like from a YouTube video you post on the internet that didn't go as planned, or from a speech you did at an event that didn't go as planned, or you applied for a work somewhere and things didn't turn out. Like yeah, that's courage for me.
Yeah.
I think I was courageous not even talking about this.
I think you touched on something really important about actually, I think the whole concept of courage that I've learned the last few years that I had personally misunderstood, which is that I always thought that courage meant not feeling fear, right? But actually it's the opposite. It's because courage without fear doesn't exist. You don't need courage if you're fearless, right? You only need courage if you feel the fear and then you learn how to navigate those emotions and then move forward regardless, right? Fear and courage are like two sides of the same coin, you know, like they need to coexist. And I think what I hope that, you know, I think people listening remember, and as a reminder to myself, you know, being courageous is by definition uncomfortable, right? Like discomfort is the price to pay for courage.
Wow.
You cannot do without it. But I think we have this idea, as you were saying earlier about the hero, I think we have this idea that to be courageous, you have to be this fearless, you know, standing on a cliff with a sword, like, you know, that kind of idea. But that's not how it actually manifests in the real world, right? The way that it manifests in reality is with a grappling of emotions, is managing doubt and all sorts of confusing feelings that ultimately you learn how to express and feel fully to then move forward regardless, right? Like I think the emotions are there as data points to tell us something, but it doesn't mean we should act on them, right? Because I think sometimes acting on emotions is not the right decision. And if we're feeling fear, we might think, oh man, maybe I'm not ready, you know, doubt might start coming in. But if we're able to just listen, internalize as the first step, I think, in courage, and then you can move forward. You move forward with courage, right, and with power. And I think
How do you...
That's something that I've just had to learn the hard way.
Yeah, how do you... Shall we talk a bit more about that? Like, how do you face that fear? Like, I think that is an interesting topic, like, because the fear is there. You spoke about a cave in the YouTube video, the emotional cave.
Yeah.
And either you go towards it or not.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to share your thoughts about, like, how do you handle this fear?
Yeah, I think my analogy of the cave is more of like a moment where I felt that I was challenged to a point where I almost felt like I had no choice. You know, I felt like I was going down this path, but I had to pause in that moment to remember that you always have a choice for how you react. And I think that Adler is one of the main psychologists from the 20th century, and he speaks about how you choose always, like you have the choice to, it's not your past that defines your future. At any given moment, you can still decide how you want to react to any given obstacle. And I think when you remember that you have that power, I think it can shift something within you, that you can still, even if your circumstances are terrible and everything is stacked against you, there is still an element of choice in how you choose to react to that setback. And I think there was one affirmation that I didn't talk about in the video that helped me a lot during this time, which switched, I think, how I even felt about myself during this chapter. And I would stop and I would tell myself, sometimes I would say it out loud, but I would just really say it in my mind. I would say, I am not a victim. Because at some point, it's so easy to feel when nothing is working that you're a victim of your life and of your circumstances and everything is unfair. And feeling like a victim, I think you end up taking away your own power. You know, when in the end of the day, you do have the power to choose how you want to react. And for some people, that might be a controversial statement, you know, because we want to say, well, no, because this is terrible and this is not working and this is, you know, this is this and that. And I think it's easier to blame and to point fingers than to decide, you know what, I am not a victim. And even if people are screwing me over, if I'm like, you know, lost the most meaningful person in my life and I got broken up with and all these things are happening in my life, you can still decide how you want to interpret these things and the story that you want to tell yourself. And I think the story that we tell ourselves is so important, you know, and I think we forget that, right? I think it's so easy to get in a loop of telling ourselves a very negative story about who we are, what we're capable of, what we deserve, you know, what our life is. And I think anytime a person goes through a challenging period, it's important to remember that this is just a chapter. And during this chapter where everything feels like foggy and confusing, the only thing you can do is to take that one step forward, but to remember that you still have the power to decide how you want to react, no matter how overwhelming everything feels. And I think feeling that and being able to really know that, I think should make anyone feel empowered, not feel blamed for not doing enough, but you should be able to go, you know what, I believe in myself and this sucks and today I don't feel good. Tomorrow I might not still feel good, but maybe the next week, maybe the month after that. And if I just keep going through this, if I just weather this storm, then at the end, there is going to be sun coming through the clouds again. Like no storm lasts forever, right?
True.
And I think remembering that is very important. What do you think, like when did you, like what's a moment in your life where you had to really, you know, be courageous? Because I think, it's funny because I look at you and you're like the least Swedish guy I know. But you're also born and raised in Sweden and your mom is Swedish. And I feel like you've had to have like this delusional sense of self-belief because
100%.
of where you grew up and what your background is. Like, do you have a moment where you remember courage manifesting itself in a decision you had to make or in a set of decisions you had to make?
I also want to say before I answer that, it feels like now we're having a bro moment here. You're asking me a question and I'm sending something back to you, but I feel like you're the master of mindset when it comes to, you know, like really entering that emotional cave. I remember now because I saw the video today for the first time that we posted on YouTube. And emotional cave as well is going into the cave is like you get stuck in that cave as well.
Yeah.
And I think like fear grows in darkness.
Yeah.
And shame and guilt and fear, which is very closely related to each other, they grows in silence. And how to like, face this and let go of this and set them free is to put light on them. And I know we've spoken about this many times and it's a very interesting topic of like how do we put light to something that is very scary or feels unbearable to handle. And I know that you've been going deep into that cave and then out as well. And I know as well that I've been deep in those caves and come out again. I think like something is that sometimes people who see me on the internet or whatever we call it, I'm sounding like a grandpa when I say that. But to answer your question is that sometimes maybe people think, oh, why are you so happy always? Or why are, you're radiating a lot of joy, which I feel is very true and authentic to me as well. But it's also, as you know, that you walked into that cave and came out again. And I think I had to do that, a couple of times in my life, as I believe many other people as well. And during, I won't like take you all into the cave today, but I'm happy to see how we can explore this podcast and see where we can take this together. But I definitely want to walk in together a bit. And during the times when I was 18, 19, yeah, there was some lonely times. Yeah, I can feel that just entering that topic and being a dreamer or being someone that, yeah, wish to like believe in a future that doesn't exist yet, but you know deep inside of you that it can be created because you listen to quotes immensely, or you, like there is this guy called Les Brown. I don't know if someone recognizes Les Brown or not, but please search for him on YouTube if you want to. Like, Les Brown changed my life when I was 18 years old. He was like, he said, don't let someone's opinion about you become your reality. He said it in the most, American way you can ever imagine. Nothing bad with that, but in the most American way, and I'm sitting there in a small Swedish suburb listening to this, don't let someone's opinion about you become your reality. And then just all these quotes and mantras and all of this, and it really got deep inside of me, and I started to believe from like my childhood room. And yeah, I had a beautiful upbringing with my beautiful mom and dad and 3 siblings, but yeah, we didn't have maybe the most fortunate, economics, as or we didn't travel as young and like these things. But I don't want to victimize myself or anything. Had a great childhood, but there was some areas there that I didn't have in my family, maybe that was in others, as we all. But I had these dreams of like, how can I dream myself out of this place?
Yeah. But how did you, because everyone has dreams, I think.
Yeah.
But how do you actually make it happen? How do you bridge between a dream and actually having the courage to show up, right? Because I think that's the hard part. Because I'd imagine that every single person watching this has dreams. And I think the most common DMs I get is like, how do I get started? And I think people overthink probably that step. But one pattern I've found, which is kind of funny, is like a touch of, maybe this is a bad word.
Go, you send it.
A touch of delusion. And I'm speaking more about myself in this moment. But do you think that is what it was, or did you, what was it that made that leap? What made you go from dream to reality?
Well, 100%. Like, I think you have to be like naive. For example, when I look back at my journey, I've seen myself as naive. And I told myself I always want to continue being naive. I always want to continue being curious. Like when I was 18 years old, I took a Polaroid photo, that's what you call it.
Yeah.
And I wrote "Dream Big" on it, and it was a picture of me having my arms closed, and I put it on the roof, like where I was sleeping. So when I went to bed, have I ever told you this story?
I think you have. You put it in your ceiling, so you were looking at it?
Exactly, yeah. So when I went to bed, I could see like "Dream Big" and looking at myself. And then when I woke up, I was like seeing these words "Dream Big." And I was doing this every single day, seeing "Dream Big." And I didn't even know where I was going. I just know that I was going somewhere. And I think that was the start for it. And of course, people made fun of me. Like, "Dream big, where are you heading?" And all of these things. And I was like, yeah. And I haven't talked so much about like the connection I had to that as well, because I did get a mentor that like empowered me immensely when I was, last year at high school, and he started to ask me questions that I never got before. And that's when I also realized we all have the answers, but we're missing the questions. So he was asking me questions as, what are you afraid of? And my only answer was like spiders and these, basic things. But I couldn't answer a question that was internally within me. And he started to like, open this world up for me. Yeah, and for me was to try to understand a bit more what's happening on the inside. During my first 18 years of my life, I was only looking outward. And then I started to look more inward. And some people maybe find it even younger in life, but when I was 18, that's when I actually started to look within. Yeah. And I think definitely, being a dreamer, you have to be a bit delusional. You have to be a bit, see something or believe in something that other people don't see yet. And that is often a very lonely road till other people start to believe and see it as well. Right. But before you come there and arrive to that place, it needs courage then to walk on that path.
Right.
And I think that courage came from this mentor I mentioned, because it's interesting to enter. How do you get courage? Yeah, or where does courage come from? And I think that courage grows in safe spaces. As soon as I have a safe space, I became 100 times more courageous than if it's not a safe space. I think you know that with me as well.
Yeah.
Like when I'm safe and when I'm like in a good environment, I just go for it. But I also have a history of bullying and people making fun of me, and which we can talk about. Of like, I don't always like to talk about that because it felt like I've spoken about it quite many times in my era as a public speaker, my life before YouTube. But I'm happy to talk about that as well. But having people around me, creating a safe space, that gives me a lot of courage.
Yeah. I also think I like this idea that courage is a muscle. So I think it's a thing you have to work out, right? And I think that's the thing that I myself forget a lot. You think you get to a point, you've done enough things and you want just life to get easy, but that's not how it works, right? It's a continuous process of learning how to, I think, grapple with the challenging emotions every single time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the contract we sign with life, right?
What do you mean by that?
I think the contract we sign with life is that we are going to have to grapple with a series of uncomfortable emotions and confusing feelings to get permission to do everything else, right? I think if you want to chase your dreams, you're signing a contract with that you're going to have to battle bullies that are going to make fun of you. You're going to have to push through like a lot of doubt and a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of moments where people are screwing you over and you have setbacks. All of these things are a part of the contract of life. Anything worthwhile is going to be painful and confusing, and there's going to be ups and downs. But I think sometimes, maybe it's movies that have, I think, affected how we think like success and life is supposed to look like, right? Mm-hmm. Where we see it as just like a series of steps and things just sort of work out progressively. But the reality is that for most people, it's not linear, right? It's not like a thing that just goes like this. Like life is much more like that and like that, It's kind of an upward trajectory, but it's, if you're able to process all the learnings along the way. But I think sometimes our expectations are what make it harder for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And I think expecting things to be easy or expecting things to be a certain way messes with our ability to actually be courageous, because we're thinking, oh man, if I'm feeling doubt, or if this is worse than, if this year is worse than last year, I'm going backwards, so maybe I'm not doing good enough and I should give up, or you don't keep up the same momentum because you're doubting yourself. I've definitely been there. During COVID, I felt like ass, and I had a lot of periods where I feel like I was stuck in like this state of fight or flight and anxiety, and I had this idea that I had to be strong and I had to be a certain way, and that idea prevented me from actually being that way, because I wasn't allowing myself to just be present and be like, this sucks and I'm not happy and I'm not enjoying myself. But I had this idea of how I needed to be to actually get there, and that idea was preventing me from actually getting there, right? And so it's like
it's a paradox.
It's a paradox.
Could you tell us about any shift? Because I relate 100% to that. And there is this beautiful man in Sweden. He was working as a finance man. He left all that world and became a forest monk in Thailand for 17 years. And then he moved back to Sweden, and then he became just this man sharing his insights, and so beautiful spirit, Björn Nattigol-Lindeblad, who is now an angel up in heaven. But he said, to live life with an open hand instead of a closed fist.
Yeah.
And I always loved that. Live your hand with an open fist instead of a closed fist. That's what I think about when you say that. So do you want to tell me, when did that shift happen, and how did it happen, in the sense of, you said it was a very tough time and you were struggling more, but did your mindset shift? Did your way of showing up on a daily basis shift? Or?
Yeah, I think two things. One, I allowed myself to feel the feelings that I didn't want to feel, and that's taken some process, and you've helped me with that. And therapy has helped me with that. And meditation has helped me with that, and journaling. I think you have to tackle it from different different angles. But then also just accepting that, you know what, it doesn't need to be perfect today. You know, it can just be what it is, and then you do your best, and then you move forward. You know, I think I used to expect my circumstances to be perfect to move forward. You know, I wanted to feel good. I wanted to have the perfect this and that, you know, and if all of these criteria weren't there, I wasn't moving forward. And what I've learned, especially during just feeling so stalled during COVID and then having to deal with so much pain from seeing my mom be sick for several years, I learned that if you wait for everything around you to be perfect before you're actually moving forward, you're going to end up waiting forever. Because unfortunately, life is hard, you know, and there's never really a perfect time. There's never really a perfect moment. And I think I myself waited a while to double down on things because I wanted the circumstances to be there. And I really think a lot of people, including myself, are stuck waiting for something to happen before actually living, you know? I think the trap that I get personally caught into is the waiting for this thing to happen before I'm gonna be like happy, waiting for this thing to happen before I'm excited about life or doing whatever. And that is, I think, a dangerous trap, you know? And I think the thing that shifted is just, it doesn't matter if I feel like doing it or not, and it doesn't matter that I'm not in the best headspace in the world. I can still feel those things and move forward regardless. You know, not letting your circumstances dictate your actions, right? And not letting your feelings dictate your actions. Because if I waited to not feel like shit to actually start moving, I would still be waiting right now. But at some point, you just have to just take one step in front of the other, and then the questions get answered, right? Like it gets figured out over time, but the courage that requires is walking without seeing fully where the path is going, right? Like you have to start walking down a path and you don't know where it's going. And you might have to turn back around and take the other path, you know, at the crossing that you were standing at. But you need to take a path to see if it's going somewhere. You can't, there was somebody that told me, you can never fully imagine or like in your head if an outcome is actually going to be good for you or not. You have to, like humans, we need to experience things. And this person was telling me they like dreamed this whole life of being of having this big like law firm. And they built it, and then one day they walked in, they had like 80 employees, just a big law firm, and looked around and realized they freaking hated it. And bit by bit just had to, like, I don't know if they sold it or I don't know what happened, but then scaled back down to just having a small place with just 2 or 3 employees, which felt much more suited to them. But you'd never know that until you go there, right? You have to sort of try something to see if it's worthwhile or not. And I think, sometimes we stall until everything is perfect to trust ourselves to take the leap. And I think courage in this moment is in taking the step without knowing where it's going to take you. And that's a fun, like, it's scary, but it's also fun, you know? It's. I think there was, I forget who said this, but it's an amazing quote of like, you know, the people that have dreamed their whole lives of being like this one specific job, that's their punishment, is they're going to be that thing. Like there's no mystery. There's no letting life take you to somewhere unexpected or unknown. And that's the fun part. It's about going into the unknown. And in a way, that's what I love about what we do, is we go into the unknown. All of yesterday is about trusting, right? It's about trusting people. It's about going to places that we've never heard of. How many countries have we gone to that we like knew nothing about until we got there, and then we got to meet people, connect with people, and come out of there being completely, shocked and surprised in so many positive ways, right? And that took embracing the uncertainty, which I think is another, great ingredient to just have and to play with and find ways to make fun, because otherwise we just keep going in circles and we never move forward.
Yeah. Well said, sir. And what I hear you saying, out of what things you're saying here, is to not overthink.
Yeah.
To not be too much in your head.
Yeah.
To be like present, to be cautious. Please fill in the gap of what I'm hearing you say. But then you just go out walk, and if you end up to walk to the wrong place, the wrong office with 80 people, and you don't want to have it like that with a law firm, okay, but then you can continue walking, and then you feel a bit there, and then you continue walking. It's like being on an adventure,
Yeah.
being out there on the road and being out there in life, and we can never really know before we go out there, and when we've been out there, then we learn and see.
And that's the overthinking. The overthinking is in the, I'm trying to hyper visualize every single little detail about an outcome that I don't know and I don't have control over.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it is good to visualize your future, and I think have this intention about who you want to become and all these things. I think that's a great and powerful tool also to make a reality happen. But I think hyper obsessing over it, and I think getting to the point where you're visualizing constantly, but you're not taking any action, that's not a good thing, right? You end up stalling completely.
Like me thinking about this girl and talking about her, and then you just have to.
You don't know until you actually ask that person out, right? You can sit and ask yourself every single day if like this is going to work out or not, and what's the point? It's so much wasted energy, unfortunately. And I think I've been there, when I was a teenager. I was such an overthinker. I'm not comparing you to teenage
You being
me.
a teenager?
No. I'm saying I can definitely relate. For a long time, letting overthinking stop me from doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I've had to unlearn that. And I think overthinking is just I think it's a response to self-esteem, and self-doubt. And if you could just quiet that voice a little bit. It's Michael Singer who wrote Untethered Soul, who talks about
Amazing
the inner roommate. So in the first chapter, it's this amazing book. If you haven't read it, Untethered Soul is a great book. But the author, Michael Singer, talks about this concept of the inner roommate, which is that voice that speaks in your head all the time. So if you're quiet for a moment and you say hello in your head, and you hear that voice, that's the inner roommate that's speaking to you all the time. And what he's saying is, if that voice was actually a roommate that we lived with, we would never tolerate them speaking to us like we allow our own voice in our head speak to us. And if we can be aware of it, then we can change so many things.
And I think it's in different areas as well, right?
Yeah.
Because when it comes to, having a dream and a wish to leave this place in a better state than I found it in.
Yeah.
That's a very strong, deep value dream wish I have for my own time down on earth here. Sorry for taking it 10 levels down on deepness, but that's my true wish. One day I'm gonna check out, and I wish to this place to be a little bit warmer, a little bit kinder, a little bit braver, and for other people to send that to other people. That's very deeply ingrained with me.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of things to stop me from continue doing that. I go for it firmly, fearlessly. Even if the fear is there, I go for it. So I think I connected deeply to that with my own story of which I'm happy to talk about as well. I could feel that I avoided it a bit before with bullying and, traumas and, things that can be within families and relatives.
Did you let those bullies make you doubt yourself?
Yeah, it for sure scarred me deeply. Yeah, I can become emotionally entering the topic. Yeah, and I think that's think that's what I was avoiding as well.
Fuck those people.
Yeah, I know. Today, it's, but it's still almost still a little bit shadow still,
Yeah.
But I'm still putting light to it, and I think in a moment like this to just say it, But damn, it was some tough times. I told it to you, during many dinners and so, but it was it was not easy.
But there's no light without a shadow.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think our shadows. This is the thing. Is like, it's you're the one that told me this. If running away from the darkness is like trying to run away from your own shadow.
Yeah,
it's just there. Like you can't get away from it. The only thing you can do is to befriend it, right?
For sure. And I had to like. First of all, I think it was a lot of survival. If we go back to like being courageous on your journey, with me being younger and going for your dream and your goal and writing dream big and meeting this mentor. When I was very young, which was very naive, but at 19 years old, I decided to become a public speaker in Sweden, which I'm super proud of. But looking back at it, it's like, wow, I was young. But I had such strong mission to send belief and hope into other people. That's what I wish to do, because this mentor put that into me, and I just wish to put that into other people. And I think other people can maybe connect and relate to that in their own way. They have an experience that transform and change their life, and then they want to give that to others. Yeah. So I think that mission was very clearly, I can feel it when I speak about it now, it was like very ingrained in me, and then I went for it. Went to high schools, did free speeches at high schools, and people loved it. That was the good thing.
But do you think you'd be who you are today if that bullying hadn't happened?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would not be able to relate to people feeling, outside, and I barely want to talk about it again because it feels like I'm victimizing myself. But anyhow, like I felt very outside. I felt very, I had acne, a skin condition, and I felt very insecure about that. I was wearing scarves around my neck, during summer, spring, fall, and winter to cover those up, and was literally hiding myself a lot. And then at some point, started to write this dream big and listening to Les Brown and reading books and got this mentor, and then I just went for it.
Yeah.
And then it was either, can sound dramatic, but either to swim or drown. It felt like, let's learn to swim here, because I didn't really know, could potentially have gone to university somewhere, but none of my family members had gone to university. So it was not like my world I came from in my background. I do believe in studies and university, but I found this path and I was like, I'm sending it.
Nice.
And then
I was going to throw in a little joke, but I don't know if people know our sense of humor yet with each other.
So let's introduce it. Send it.
Send it. I don't want people to think I'm the bully now, but we roast each other a lot.
Yeah. Okay, no, but it's good. You put it up, and now you can.
No, I was just when you said you haven't been to college. Yeah, I was just going to say that's noticeable. But it's now I feel like the mean one, but
no, I think with this podcast, because we never open up this space before, we do roast each other.
Yeah, we do,
and
it's a part of the brotherhood.
I think it is part of the brotherhood.
Actually, I read a study that said friends that roast each other feel a much stronger bond than friends that don't roast each other. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Well, this is a bit of a bro science moment, but I read that somewhere. I think it's true. Don't fact check me.
I'm trying to come up with a good roast back now, but because of that, I'm blanking. But it will
come.
I think people out there are rooting for me to come back with a roast now. So we'll see
good.
on either this episode or the next
true.
one.
No, I'm the bad guy.
Now you're 1-1.
People will be cheering for you they'll wait for the roast back.
On the roast.
But I think it's beautiful that I think the story about the bullies, I think, embodies a lot of taking a negative thing and turning it into a positive thing, and transformation and alchemy with the events in our life is the most powerful thing we can actually do, and that's a moment of choosing, right? Yeah. You're speaking about choice before. In that moment, you chose specifically not to believe those people, right?
Yeah,
and
sure.
to act regardless, and to go do a super vulnerable thing, which is public speaking. I think it's the world's #1 fear. Public speaking. So you got bullied, and your response was to go do the thing most people fear, which is pretty awesome.
Thank you for saying that, sir. After that roast, no, I'm just kidding. Thank you for saying that. And it is connected to the deep mission I want to come back to, which I also think can be good for listeners to connect to, hopefully, if you resonate with this. To have a strong mission, right? To have a strong why, it helps you to be more courageous when you know what you're doing, why you're doing it.
Yeah. I think every moment of hardship is an invitation. You know, I think every challenge is an invitation for you to prove to yourself who you are. And it's an opportunity to lean into your values and to prove to mainly yourself, right, that you are who you say you are and that you're able to withstand challenges. Because it's super easy. I think we spoke about this in the last podcast, but it's easy to be kind when you're feeling good, and it's easy to be, you know, courageous when you're feeling no fear.
Yeah.
But in the moment where actually things are not going well, that's the moment where these things matter.
Yeah, for sure.
And if we can remember in the moments of challenges that this is an invitation to continue to, you know, sharpen our own knife, you know, of just like carve ourselves into an even, you know, grander version of ourselves, rather than, oh man, I'm being pulled down again.
Yeah.
And remember that the moment that things get hard, to just have a little light that goes off and be like, a new opportunity.
New opportunity in what sense? An opportunity to grow?
To be challenged and thus to grow, right? And I think to lean deeper into your values, to lean deeper into your courage, into your strength, into your humility, into your, you know, into your kindness, into your openness, because it's the challenges that close us, right? And it's the challenges that pull us into that dark cave.
Yeah.
And if we never get challenged, we never have the opportunity to actually be those things, right? We never have the opportunity to be the best version of ourselves. If everything just happens and nothing is ever difficult, we don't become a strong person, right? We need the challenges to have the opportunity to actually develop the depth within our own understanding of life, within our own even gratitude and appreciation for when things are actually going good, right? Like there are moments earlier in my life where I remember struggling with gratitude, but now that I've gone through pain, I can feel gratitude so much more deeply, because I know what it's like to feel awful for a long period of time.
Yeah.
That now, when I have moments where I actually feel peace and where I know that my friends and family are safe, I can actually feel such a deep sense of gratitude for that moment, because I know how fragile everything really is, right? And you'd think that it would make me more scared, but I feel that I've done my best, and I'm doing my best on a daily basis to try to remember and for it not to be that.
Is this where I'm not a victim? Is this where I'm not a victim comes in? Or do you have another saying when obstacles and things are very tough for you, when it comes to like, being grateful, or like to see it as like a blessing or time for growth or overcome? And there's different levels and layers to this, of course, but like on a daily basis with obstacles.
I think it's just like, now I'm trying to stop, and going through new obstacle recently, as you know, but we're not going to speak about that in this podcast. But there was an unfortunate setback.
You mean that one? Yeah,
yeah, that one.
Yeah, I was thinking before.
I don't even know if we're ever going to be able to speak about it, so I don't want to speak about it too much, because people are going to be just confused.
Would you say one thing, if it's okay to say, that we got very challenged the recent 7 days, specifically you, and we are in it still.
We're in the middle of it right now.
We're also very jet lagged right now.
Yeah.
And we're trying to figure things out. But
we'll see if one day we get to speak about this. If one day we get to speak about it, I think you guys will be like, holy shit.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It is holy shit.
It's pretty bad. But
I just don't want to scare anyone, right? So
yeah, I don't want to scare anyone. things are fine. The point being is that right now I'm having to practice everything that we're speaking about right now. I need to remember it myself when we walk out of this room. So I want to be very clear that I'm not sitting on this camping chair on some high horse, like saying these things as if I've internalized them at every single moment in my life. I'm saying them because I need to hear them myself. And I think that what I tell myself when these things happen, or I try to remember, because initially I always end up being like, of course, when something terrible happens, the first reaction is to refuse that moment, right? Yeah. And you're in denial and you're like wishing it wasn't happening, and you're grappling with that. Once you can get past that, then you can actually just sit in the emotion and be like, okay, well, this is what's happening. And I try to have this moment where I just go, okay, what is this moment meant to teach me? Because I think there is no better teacher than setbacks. There is no better teacher than setbacks.
100%.
And if you can learn to appreciate those as an opportunity to become a better person, to become stronger, then when they happen, it doesn't need to be a no, oh my God, but instead, okay, all right, I can handle this. Let's see how this goes.
And that's what we've been saying as well, right? And sorry guys listening, but we can't speak about it right now, and you will understand if we will be able to speak about it at some point. But that's what you've been saying as well during dinners, right? Like let's keep the positivity. And not only like smiling and looking up at the roof or the ceiling, but like if setback comes like this now, like what can we do the best with it?
Yeah.
Right now we're recording a podcast episode that might not have happened if that thing wouldn't happen.
Yeah. This might sound funny to people, but we've been exploring our Viking heritage a little bit. I've been watching Vikings, and I've found out recently actually that my last name is Viking origin. I didn't know that. I always thought my last name was weird because it's Bragg, and no one in Sweden is named Bragg, and I always was like, what is this last name? I thought about it much, but I found out recently that it is a Viking origin. My brother was in an ancient cathedral, and they had records of where the last names come from the last 1,000 years. And they looked it up, and they found Bragg was from an Old Norse name. And I thought it was pretty epic, and it's been a way for me to like reconnect a little bit, thinking about who were my ancestors, and I know that you've been thinking about it as well.
Yeah.
And I think people have a misconceived idea of who the Vikings were, that they were like these savages, and yes, there was an element of it that was that, but ultimately they were the ultimate explorers. That's what Vikings were. They set out on these freaking long ships without cover, without anything, and just went in a direction, seeing what they would find. They were the first to discover North America. Like how far they went, I don't even think most people understand.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I'm in when I'm in deep shit, when just the things are not going well, I think about them sitting in that longship in the middle of a huge storm in the Atlantic, waves just like chucking the whole, ship upside down, and people falling off board, and, them having to literally hold on for their lives until they could weather the storm. Mm-hmm. And I think about, okay, if they can weather that storm and eventually get the boat to when the sun shines again, I can weather this moment. And that helps me just remember that this is temporary.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, behind every moment of darkness, behind every cloud, the sun is still shining.
Yeah, 100%. I used to have to say, I love that you share a story like this.
Yeah, because we're going for it. Because I definitely want to talk about Vikings.
Yeah, for sure.
This is going to happen on this podcast.
And this is. I used to have to say that because it's so funny that you say a story like this, because these are the stories I get to hear when we have dinner, so we're at the gym or etc. And Thomas like, Paul's this Viking story, etc. I'm more the kind of person, like, I'm gonna go and hug this tree, and feel if I like connect to this tree. But I think that's beautiful as well, right? In the sense of our friendship, of like the yin and yang and so on. And I'll join you. We made jokes as well of like in the Viking era, I would be the guy like doing the horn, like ooh, and be like, come on everyone, like giving encouraging words and so on.
Yeah.
Not that, I would be, I would take care of, people and so on, but I would be like, let's be here, and you would be like in the front of the boat. And I'm not saying that one is better than another, but I'm saying that it's funny how we are. Yeah. But I thought it was very, understand me correctly, but I thought it was very, very, very cute of you doing like the Viking story and so on, very you. So
we'll be talking about Vikings on this podcast.
Yeah.
Sorry if you care not at all about Vikings, because it's going to come up a few times. Because I spend some time thinking about it, and I'm enjoying actually learning about Viking history. It's very interesting.
I find it very interesting as well, as you know, and to learn from cultures that was here before us. And also we know that history is written by winners. So always the things we read about, at first sight is not always the truth, right? So you have to dig a bit deeper, right? And try to understand what was the culture, and not only look at the, image that a group is presented. So
Amar was in Norway recently. Sorry, I just want to share this one story because it's amazing. Mm-hmm. Sorry, did you want to finish? You can.
No, but you can add as well. But I also just wanna come back to, because I interrupted you when you were speaking about this boat and all of that, and I wanna say I so wish that we could share what's happening now. We can call it Project Problem.
Project Problem. Maybe one day. This is one of those moments where people might just have to stick to not knowing and maybe never knowing.
But maybe trusting us that we're sharing the truth, that we are in a very, and it might come out, but in a very interesting situation.
Yeah.
And Project Problem really takes a lot from us, and specifically you right now, in the mentality of being like, being on that Viking boat. So after my little roast of you there, I'm coming back to...
Just gotta weather it.
Yeah.
You just gotta weather it. And I hope that as a reminder to myself, and as a reminder to all those who need it, to remember to just weather it. It's fine. Just put your head down, take care of yourself, do the basics, go outside, don't be on your phone. I think that's, it's so easy to develop bad habits when you're in shit. I found myself scrolling more on my phone, and it's made me feel worse. It's not helping me, and I think there's a vicious cycle and there's a virtuous cycle depending on what's happening, right? Like when things are starting to go well, you sleep better, you get better care of yourself, all these things.
And that cycle is called?
A virtuous cycle.
It's
a good cycle, right? And the vicious cycle is something bad happens, we don't like the emotion, so instead of feeling it, we doom scroll it away. Then we completely fry our dopamine receptors. Then we can't sleep. Now we feel awful the next day. That's the vicious cycle, right? Yeah. We didn't sleep well, so now we're not motivated to work out. So now we stay inside instead. It just creates this vicious cycle.
I'm liking this Viking ship story more and more. I have to
it's just weather it. You just gotta weather it. Keep your head down and try to take steps forward, and bit by bit, the sunshine will come back.
And you will find what you're looking for.
And you will find what you're looking for.
Land will arrive.
Amar, who is one of the co-founders of Yes Theory, and that I'm assuming most listeners, if not all listeners, know who he is. If you are a Yes Theory viewer, was in Norway recently, and he met this man who was obsessed with his Viking heritage. He comes from the region in Norway that never converted to Christianity. So they kept believing in the pagan gods, in like Thor and in Odin and, and all of that.
Oh, wow.
And he still believes in like Odin, and that's who he follows.
And he met these people?
Yeah, he met this person. And he told us, that person told Amar this story about Vikings that had buried a ship down deep underground for future generations. And what they carved on the ship was only a few words. And they wrote, "Man knows little." That's all they wrote.
Wow.
And what that means, we can decide how we interpret it, but I think it's a very beautiful message they wanted to preserve this for future generations. They wanted to preserve this message. And I think whatever they saw in their lifetime that made them realize how small they were humble enough to communicate that. And I think what I like about that is that we don't always need to know everything, and being comfortable in the unknown and being curious enough to explore it makes life so much more enjoyable.
100%.
But it's easier said than done. And it just takes practice. And I think it takes kindness towards oneself. And I think it takes the baby steps, bit by bit, you know. And then one day you find yourself, you know, waking up one day and realizing, oh, I'm so much stronger as a human being than I was 2 years ago, than I was 5 years ago, you know. And
because you keep on going.
Yeah.
You keep on going.
Yeah. It's the compound interest of growth.
And people find their own ways to keep on going as well, right? Like your way and my way can differ. Our way with someone else listening can differ. Yeah. So please write as well in the comment section, what is your way? Because we all can find our different ways to like keep on going. But the core here is to keep on going, right? Regardless if it's someone saying, you know, keep on going, or I believe in you. Yeah. Personally, I know that gives a lot of boost for me. Yeah. I also know that I can go deep within myself and just be like, I'm going regardless. My mission is so strong, so it's going to take, nothing's going to stop me. Yeah. And in some other areas where I haven't worked through as much with myself, I need extra more support. So, interesting. I like the metaphor of the Viking ship, or, you know, or going hugging a tree. That's, you know,
everyone has different ways to weather. I'm curious if people would like to share, you know, in the comments of wherever you're listening to this, or just sending us a message on Instagram or wherever suits you. But if there is a comment section where you're listening to this, I would be curious to know either a story that helps you to go through challenging times, or a quote maybe, you know, because I think stories and quotes ultimately help paint a picture.
It does.
That help us take it from being a theory to actually applied, right? And then help us remember it when we're facing it ourselves, to remember the emotion behind the story or behind the quote that give us the fuel for the courage to be there when we most need it.
Yeah.
And I think, I hope that this podcast can continue to be a place where, like, we figure it out together. You know, this is a place of discussion. It's not a lecture. It's a place of open discussion, because I don't freaking know what I'm doing.
Same here.
Like, I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on. Like, I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm doing my best.
I know that, and I'm happy that more people knows it as well now.
Yeah, it's definitely a work in progress, and that's why we called it Yes Theory. You know, we didn't call it Yes Certainty. You know, like we called it a theory because we're exploring, and I think this podcast is a much more open discussion of exploration, and I think will accompany our videos quite well. Mm. What do you think about that?
I think it was very well said, sir. And it makes me think about a saying I have in my head, which is process over perfection. Mm-hmm. Keep on just following the process, and things will lead you, things will guide you, things will appear, people will come, opportunities will arrive, learnings will give you new understanding about yourself, your surrounding, and then you're gonna wake up one day 2 years later and be like, wow, I actually grow. And I think many people can relate to that, looking back at life, like looking back at 18-year-old self or 25-year-old self, or, you know, oldest when we turn 30 plus, seeing like, okay, there's different versions, right? And to keep on unlearning things as well that we are learning that is not serving us as well. That's a big belief I have. And one practice that I can just send out to people if they wish to explore that thought is like your role self or your authentic self. Talking about masks, as you said in the beginning, like we all, including me, tap into my role self sometimes. When I'm insecure, when I'm scared, when I'm not feeling safe, that's often what tends to happen for me. My authentic self is when I'm in a safe space, and then I just like send it, say the wildest jokes, or run around flying like an eagle on the street, and just feeling free, you know, being a kid, which feels my truest version. And I think like one thing you could do is like to connect with like, you know, your role self or your true self. Like, what do you wish to leave behind? Do you want to write it down maybe to your role self? What is not serving anymore? What do you want to tell your role self that can let go, that your true self can take care of now? And you want to tell something to your true self that him or her can like step into that full-on power that.
Maybe in every single episode, if we can, like let's have a journaling prompt in this specific. We can have a little formal challenge to you, the audience listening. What do you think people should, like maybe one question that you can answer in your journal on whatever, if you don't have a journal, a piece of paper, what would you want people to ask themselves, that they can potentially just sit down and take 5 minutes, and that could be something that we can all do on our own time.
A question, a prompt could be, what story about myself am I done repeating? So if you feel this is done, I don't want to repeat this anymore, journal a bit about that. I love to do these things, like sit in my journal, you know that. I know that you also like to write, so let's do this.
Passing it over to you. Wherever you're watching this, on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, please remember to subscribe. It supports us doing this. If you want to leave a comment or liking it, any support, any interaction, any engagement means a lot to us, and ultimately helps us continue to do this. So thank you for listening. We hope that something was taken away from this. I certainly enjoyed chatting with you.
Likewise so.
And in an open spirit of exploration, we're glad and humbled that you joined us and gave us some of your time. And we hope that we will see you soon.